Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Languages and Landscapes. I'm Tatiana.
And I'm Kevin. Today we have a very interesting topic. It is about languages, nature, and sustainability. Yes, they are all connected.
That's right, we're going to talk about how losing a language can mean losing part of the environment and how we, students and future bilingual teachers, can help to protect both.
Also, we are proud to have a very special guest with us, Dr. Gonzales, Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Science at Universidad Tecnológica de Pereira.
Welcome, Doctor. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Tatiana and Kevin. I'm happy to be here and excited to talk about how our university is promoting sustainability, not only in science, but across all academic programs.
So let's start with the role of our university. UTP is well known for its work in sustainability. Could you tell us more about that, Doctor?
Of course, Kevin, UTP is part of the Red Campus Sustainable in Colombia. This means we are committed to taking care of the environment, but also to teaching our students to become responsible citizens. Sustainability at UTP includes recycling programs, energy saving campaigns, protection of water resources, and research in clean technologies.
That's amazing. But what really makes UTP different is the idea of transversality, right?
That's totally correct, Tatiana. Transversality means that every program at the university, not only environmental science, must include sustainability. This is part of our institutional plan.
So, even programs like bilingualism, fine arts, or engineering have to connect with sustainability in their own way.
Of course, even the rarest program that has nothing to do with environmental sustainability, they already are participating in different campaigns. Each one does it differently. For example, engineering might work with sustainable materials. Health science may focus on clean environments. And in bilingualism, sustainability can be explored through language and cultural preservation, especially indigenous languages that carry environmental knowledge.
That's amazing. We see that clearly in our classes, like when we study linguistic diversity and talk about language laws in relation to nature.
Let's go deeper into that. Why is there a connection between language and biodiversity?
Well, studies shows that places with high biodiversity like the Amazon, Indonesia, and Central Africa are also places with the most linguistic diversity. These areas are home to hundreds of languages, many of them spoken by indigenous people.
That's correct. Languages are more than a way to speak. They are also a way to understand the world. Indigenous languages include names for plants, animals, and weather that don't exist in other languages.
So, when a language disappears, we don't just lose words, we lose important knowledge about nature.
For example, indigenous people know how to grow food without chemicals, how to predict the rain, and how to treat disease with plants. Much of this knowledge is passed down orally, and it's in their language.
And many of those languages are in danger. If we don't act, we will lose more than just a language. We will lose part of the planet's memory.
Let's talk about one real example, the Ayapanenco language in Mexico.
Ayapanenco is spoken in a small town in southern Mexico, or it was spoken. Today, only a few elderly people speak it fluently.
But this language has words to describe water flows, soil types, and plant cycles that are not even in Spanish.
You are right, Kevin. One of the few speakers once said that the river has moods, something that may sound poetic in English, but in their language is also scientific. It shows how people understand and interact with nature.
There was a time when even the two last speakers of Ayapanenco stop talking to each other because of a disagreement.
Yes, but thankfully they made peace, and now people are working to document and revive the language.
Efforts include community classes, language books, and even apps. These are really small steps, but they can make a big difference.
Now, let's look at some social linguistic terms that help us understand this better.
First, we have language shift. That happens when a community slowly stops using its language and replaces it with another, usually a dominant language like Spanish, English, or French.
Yes, and this often happens because of colonialism, discrimination, or economic pressure. People may stop using their native language to find jobs, go to school, or even avoid bullying.
Then we have language maintenance, which is the effort to keep using a language through schools, families, songs, festivals, and more.
Another term is ethno-linguistic vitality. This refers to how strong a language is in a community. It depends on things like how many people speak it, how proud they feel, and whether the government supports.
And lastly, we have language ecology. That's the idea that languages are part of an ecosystem, like plants and animals. If one disappears, it affects the balance of everything else.
All of these concepts help us understand that saving a language is also part of saving the planet.
So, what can we do as bilingual educators?
Well, first, we can bring local languages into the classroom. We can teach about diversity, culture, and environmental using stories, songs, and oral traditions.
Second, we can connect our lessons to real environmental problems. For example, a unit about water can include how indigenous communities care for rivers.
Also, we can invite local speakers to talk to our students or do projects in communities to document their language.
We actually asked some classmates in bilingualism what they think about this. Here are some of their answers.
I'm so proud of my students. I've had here the letters, and some of them said languages are part of identity. If we want to protect people, we have to protect their language. Another student said, in my classroom, I want to include stories from different indigenous cultures to show respect for the knowledge. I'm happy to hear that. And that's exactly what we need. Teachers who understand that diversity is a strength and that education is the best way to build a sustainable world.
So today we learned that linguistic diversity and ecological diversity are deeply connected. Losing one often means losing the other.
We also saw how UTP is taking action and how all programs, including ours, are part of this sustainability project.
And I hope this podcast inspires more students and teachers to see language as something powerful, not only to communicate, but to protect the earth.
Thanks for listening to Language and Landscape. Keep your ears open not just to English or Spanish, but to all the beautiful voices of this planet.
And remember, protecting a language is also protecting a way of seeing the world.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.